Welcome back to Hot Air, the show where we talk about everything that is a little weird, a little wild, and a whole lot of queer. I'm Joshua Robert, and thank you for joining me today. Now go grab your pumpkin spice poppers and your fake blood because tonight's episode is dripping in glitter and ghost stories. And by tonight's episode, I mean today's episode. That's right, my little ghouls, gays, and theys. It is almost officially gay Christmas. Halloween has almost arrived, and today I'm going full witch mode with it. This is like a little variety episode. Variety is the spice of life. Variety is the pumpkin spice of life. I'm not even a big pumpkin spice person, but whatever. So before we get into all of the things I have in store for you today, let's just talk a little bit about how cute my fucking mug is. It's my hot air mug. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. If you're listening on any of your podcast apps or platforms, you cannot see it, but you can also go to my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, to look at the mug in all of its glory. On one side, it has my world favorite quote, "I found your podcast to be egregious." And on the other, it's got the Hot Air logo. Honestly, I fucking love it. I am obsessed. I'm also wearing the Hot Air t-shirt that has the same "I found your podcast to be egregious" logo on the back. This also comes in a really cute hoodie that is so soft and so warm. And honestly, I'm going to wear it ski season. So anyway, that's the merch update. I'm like full on hot air today, which I love. A little obsessive, but I'm here for it. I live for some merch. All right, so as I said, variety episode. Today we're going to dive into why Halloween has always been the queer community's favorite holiday. We're going to talk about where that started, from the underground drag balls to the modern day block parties, and how a night meant for monsters became a night for full-on fucking liberation. Then I've got a very spooky listener letter from a gay man who had a paranormal experience one Halloween night in Provincetown. And let's just say something ghostly wanted to get into drag with him. And finally, I am teaming up with the fabulous folks over at Fabulous Hillcrest to talk about the history of Nightmare on Normal Street, the biggest Halloween event in San Diego, and why Hillcrest completely owns the fuck out of Halloween, and how you can win 2 tickets to this year's event. It's an event you do not want to miss. If you've ever been to San Diego around Halloween, you know that this is where you want to be. So light your candles, pour yourself a Bloody Mary, and settle in for an episode that's equal parts history lesson, group therapy, haunted gay bar energy, and a fun little giveaway. We're celebrating the freedom, the fear, and the fabulousness that makes Halloween the most queer night of the year. So let's hit it. Let's start at the beginning, or a possible beginning. Halloween, as we conventionally know it, lands atop Samhain, a Celtic festival marking the end of the harvest and the onset of winter. Boo, winter. On that liminal night, people believed the veil between the living and the spiritual world thinned. Folklore says that people would wear disguises to confuse roaming spirits or left food at doorways to placate ghosts. Over centuries, Samhain was overlaid with Christian rituals like All Saints' Day, which is on November 1st, or All Souls' Day, etc., etc. The night before became All Hallows' Eve. In America, with waves of Irish immigrants in the 19th century, those folk traditions came too. Masking, guising, jack-o'-lanterns, trick-or-treating, all of that fun stuff that I just live for. But here is the queer twist. Those ancient elements like masks, disguises, shifting identities resonate deeply with marginalized folks who the rest of the year often can't shed social expectations so readily. And Halloween at its root is about bending reality. So when queer folks encountered Halloween culture in America, there was already a structural invitation. The night belongs to transformation. So to understand why Halloween became so central to queer life, we have to understand the repression that it responded to. In the early 20th century in the US, most places had laws that criminalized cross-dressing or non-conforming, masquerade, some triggered by 3 article rules, meaning you had to wear at least 3 items of clothing corresponding to your assigned gender in order to avoid arrest. Though many legal historians believe those rules were more folkloric enforcement rather than explicit statutes that were actually followed. In places like Pittsburgh, women dressing as tomboys on Halloween were arrested, yet over time, police gave up enforcement on Halloween nights due to sheer volume. The city became overrun with cross-dressers in costume, and law enforcement conceded, kind of a sort of truce on that one evening, kind of like the Purge, except you're not running around killing people. So, Halloween offered a unique exception, a night when the policing of bodies loosened and people could experiment with gender presentation under the guise of a costume. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Black queer communities, drag balls and underground social events were already spaces of resistance. When Halloween came, it fused with those traditions. In 1935, on Chicago's South Side, Alfred Finney, a gay Black man, threw elaborate Halloween drag balls that drew hundreds. These were not just parties, they were affirmations of identity in harsh contexts. Contexts is so hard for my mouth to say. Contexts. Halloween is kind of both a shield and a stage. A shield, as in the costume you can claim for yourself, and a stage that you can express yourself with and on. It's like a night of wild performance. At some point, Halloween shed its secular and familial roots and became the queer party night. But how? How did that shift and just come to be? Well, it didn't happen overnight. One turning point, in Philadelphia in the 1950s to 60s, queer folks began following drag performers from bar to bar on Halloween, forming an unofficial parade. It was informally called Bitches Christmas. I fucking live. Over time, that morphed into the phrase Gay Christmas. These celebrations were sometimes shut down by authorities, and in Philly, under Police Commissioner Frank Rizzo, in response to rowdiness and visibility. That's a classic tension. Greater visibility invites celebration and also repression. Meanwhile, NYC's Village Halloween Parade launched in the early 1970s by Ralph Lee, and it became a magnet for queer visibility. Over many years, the parade, already themed with puppets and floats and pageantry, was hijacked, in effect, by queer creativity. The counterculture, the drag, the flamboyance became central to this event. In San Francisco, Halloween in the Castro district became hugely important. As LGBTQ people moved into the Castro in the 1970s, the street event on Polk Street began to swell. By the 1980s, Halloween in the Castro, Santa Monica Boulevard, and West Hollywood, Key West, all had Mardi Gras-style parties in the streets. And what's important here is not just the scale, but the meaning. Halloween had become a night when queer people could be seen on streets, in public spaces. They could take up volume and be bold. It became a ritual of collective joy, resistance, and reclamation. So let's pause this little history lesson and ask, why does Halloween feel so therapeutic for queer people? And what does it teach us? Here are some very wise therapy lessons that Halloween has to offer. We have a safe exploration of self and of identity. We play on Halloween. It gives us permission to try on different identities, to experiment with appearance, gender, persona in low stakes mode, right? The act of play can be soul healing. So soul healing. There's a ritual of release. We're shedding. The mask, as we know, is a metaphor. Shed your everyday self, your expectations, your fears, your constraints. In a sense, it's a ritual of death and rebirth. You die, your usual armor, who you are during the day in your 9 to 5, and you become someone new, even if it's just for a night. You put on that costume and you can be anyone, whoever the fuck you want to be. You can be it on Halloween. There's a collective affirmation and belonging. When thousands of queer people fill a street in costume, there's a sense of affirmation. You are not alone, and visibility itself becomes a healing act. There's resistance and it feels good. There's subversion and joy. In a world that frequently polices queer existence, simply delighting, being excited, enjoying your queer expression in public is an act of resistance. Just walking down the street on a regular basis with a rainbow watch band is an act of resistance. So Halloween, amplify that by times 1,000. And it's also a rehearsal for integration. The bravery that you lean into for that one night can teach you small steps of boldness the rest of the year. Halloween is like our rehearsal for authenticity, for disruption, and for claiming space. It's kind of like a little practice round, and I love that. I think it's a really cool opportunity to ask yourself, if you don't have a costume yet, what identity, expression, or truth do you wish you could embody more often? If Halloween allowed you to try it on for a night, fully and fiercely, how would that feel? And what small mask could you try in daily life to experiment, even if just privately with parts of yourself? What lessons are you going to take from Halloween this year? And now we're going to go back to a little bit of the history. So, Halloween's meaning over the years had deepened after the 70s, and it darkened a little bit during the AIDS crisis. The flamboyance, the spectacle, the safety of community became loaded with urgency. In New York during the 80s and 90s, the Village Halloween Parade became a site of political performance. Groups like ACT UP, Dykes on Bikes, and Radical Fairies used Halloween processions to stage kiss-ins, to stage protests and remembrance. The parade became not just a party, but a political forum, the visibility of queer life in the face of mass death, an insistence on existence. Copyright that, insistence on existence. I'm sure I didn't make that up. But it was also a night of mourning and memory. Halloween, with its associations to death and the spirit world, felt deeply resonant. As a night to remember those lost, to mark absence, to push back against erasure. So Halloween became both joy and defiance, a night to live loudly and to hold grief in public consciousness. Fast forward to today, Halloween is now a global queer spectacle in many places. It's kind of changed just like Pride changed. Pride started as one thing and now it's kind of become something else. I think it's getting back to its roots, but same with Halloween. We've got the WeHo Halloween Carnival in Los Angeles. It draws tens of thousands annually. I think the last few years they did not do it, but I've been and it is off the wall. Castro Halloween in San Francisco remains iconic. Never been, but perhaps next year. I should add that to my calendar. The Village Halloween Parade in New York City continues as a hybrid public event. Participants don costumes, floats, puppets, often with queer-centered themes. On social media, TikTok and Instagram, queer Halloween aesthetics, gay Halloween, hot gay Halloween are memes, trends, community rituals. Like, you could just look up the hashtags and spend years going through all of those posts. In many places around the world, queer Halloween parties or drag events have become staple October events. Because I guess really, Halloween, we're all in drag. And note, in many countries, queer expression is still criminalized. Halloween in those spaces can be even more radical and even more necessary. If Halloween gives us one night of radical license, how do we carry that into daily life? Here are, because I love to give my opinion, some reflections and some suggestions. You can try micro costuming. Stick with me. Small disruptions in your daily image. A bold earring, a color you don't usually wear, a dramatic accessory. Use those as gentle experiments. Ritualization. Create small rituals. Lighting a candle. Writing a letter to your other self. Journaling in costume. That invites transformation into your regular life. Maybe some community affirmation. Throw a little gathering, even if it's virtually, right? We'll go back to the COVID days. You could throw an event around themes of identity or masks or sharing truth. There's visible acts of truth, speaking your authentic self, sharing your story, taking up space in conversation, in presence. Those are small rebellions. Or maybe restorative reflection. Near Halloween, reflect on what fear you shed, what mask you wore, and what you'd carry forward. Ultimately, Halloween isn't just a fun night, although it's so fucking fun. It's a model of how identity, play, visibility, and transformation can coexist. Whether you're gay, straight, bi, all the things, it shows us how to live bravely. And that is my tour. The first portion, my little tour of Halloween. From Samhain to drag balls to the streets of WeHo, from masks to healing, from oppression to liberation. There is so much history in Halloween. So this year on Gay Christmas, I hope that you'll try something new, lean into the part of yourself that wants to be seen, that you've been waiting to let out. You could try a little costume, try a little reveal, try just stepping more fully into yourself, even if only for one evening. It matters. And truth be told, there's times when I put on my old Halloween costumes at home and just like put on a good song and strut around. And I just am like, it's freeing. It's like therapy. And if you do that, ask yourself, how can I remember that energy tomorrow? Halloween night is a teacher. Let it show you what you can carry forward. And now we are going to shift gears to a little spooky listener letter that may or may not feature a ghost who really wants to get into drag. This comes from a listener known only as C. And here is what they write. Hey Josh, longtime listener here, and congratulations on 6 months of hot air. Thank you. I wanted to share something that happened to me a few Halloweens ago in Provincetown. I've told a few friends this story, and every time I do, I still get the chills. It was Halloween weekend, and I'd booked a last-minute room at this old guest house, just off Commercial Street. You know the type. Crooked floors, antique mirrors, wallpaper that's seen too many secrets. The kind of place that feels alive, even when it's empty. I was getting ready for the big spooky bear party night. My costume? Dragged up Catwoman. I live. Tight black bodysuit, vinyl ears, smoky eyes, blood red lips, the whole nine. I had a bottle of Prosecco open, a playlist going, and I was feeling myself. And that is when the weird stuff started to happen. First, I heard this faint knocking. Not loud, just soft. Steady, 3 taps. I figured it was someone at another door, but a minute later, it came again. Same rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. I called out. Hello? Nothing. I opened the door. Empty hallway. Not even footsteps fading away. I shut the door, laughed it off, and went back to lining my eyes. But then my phone, which was charging across the room, lit up and started blasting a song. Not even something from my playlist. It was It's Raining Men. That's such a good song. Sorry, I'm not trying to change the spooky mood, but that's hysterical. That is a ghost I can get down with. I had not heard that song in years. I didn't even have it on my playlist. The knocking came again, louder this time, and it sounded like it was coming from inside my room. I froze. I looked around. Nothing. Just my half-finished face staring back at me in the mirror. And then, this part still gives me goosebumps. My makeup brush rolled off the vanity on its own. Slow, deliberate, like someone had nudged it. I said out loud, "Okay, very funny. If there's a ghost in here, you better be good at blending because I am not redoing this contour." I tried my best to shake it off, but the energy in the room was different. Heavy, charged, like someone was standing just behind me. I turned the music off, or at least I thought I did, because it kept playing. Except now, it sounded distant, muffled, like it was coming from inside the wall. And that's when I saw it. In the mirror, behind me, a faint reflection, a figure, just a shimmer like cigarette smoke in the shape of a person. I couldn't make out a face, but I swear I saw movement. Someone adjusting their hair or adjusting their wig. And right when I blinked, I heard this raspy voice whisper, "You forgot the eyeliner." Oh my god, I'm dead. I hope this is real. I hope this is true. I screamed, grabbed my purse, and ran downstairs in my half-done Catwoman drag, heels clicking like gunshots. The manager looked up and said, completely calm, "Oh, were you in room 7? Apparently, a drag performer had lived in that room years ago during the summer season. A legend named Miss Mirage. She passed away in the room on Halloween night before her show. Every year, they say, she still gets ready for her performance, still tapping on the walls, still trying to get her eyeliner even, I guess." I went back up later because, I needed my keys, and the room was quiet again. My phone was dark, the music was gone. But on the vanity mirror, there was one long streak of black eyeliner drawn across the glass. I slept with the lights on that night. Now, every Halloween, I play It's Raining Men before I go out, just in case she's listening. You know, a little encore for Miss Mirage. From C. Oh my God, that is so good. I love that. I actually have chills because that is just so cute. I want a ghost. I'm going to New Orleans for Halloween, and I booked a hotel that could potentially, well, it looks haunted. On booking.com, it looks haunted. So fingers crossed that happens to me. I would be so happy. I live for a spooky ghost story, and if you've got one, feel free to slide in my DMs on the gram or on TikTok at _hotairpod, or head to my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, and you can submit your spooky story there. I would love to do a few more before spooky season is over. And now we're going to shift gears yet again to our final segment, the giveaway. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Halloween in San Diego. This is a very local segment. We will build on this in the future. I think, I'm trying to be involved in the LGBTQ plus community as a whole, and why not start local? So San Diego's got beaches, it's got sunshine, it's got fish tacos, but when it comes to Halloween, nobody does it like Hillcrest. Hillcrest isn't just a neighborhood, it is the designated gayborhood. We're talking over 1,300 small businesses, queer spaces, bars, and community hubs that have been celebrating authenticity for decades. And I have been a Hillcrest local for almost 7 years now. And when Halloween hits, Hillcrest does not just celebrate it, Hillcrest becomes Halloween. Every bar, every restaurant, every block turns into a runway. Costumes, lights, DJs. It's like stepping into a queer fever dream with better lighting and stronger cocktails. It's not just a party, it's visibility, it's community, and pride all rolled into one. Now let's talk about the event that started it all, Nightmare on Normal Street. This iconic Hillcrest tradition first began in 1992 as a community celebration outside the center. The same center that's been a lifeline for San Diego's LGBTQ plus folks for decades. Then, in 2014, the Hillcrest Business Association took over and leveled it up into what it is now, San Diego's largest Halloween block party. We're talking thousands of attendees, decades of queer joy, and now the 33rd year of pure magic. It's not just a party, it's a living, dancing piece of local queer history. Let's talk specifically about this year's Nightmare on Normal Street because it is going to be lit. Of course, it is taking place on Friday, October 31st from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. right in the heart of Hillcrest. This year, because of the Pride Promenade construction, they're moving the party onto University Avenue between Herbert and Center, right where I live. So I'll be right in the mix of all the action. So basically, right where all the energy lives, right under the Pride flag. The main stage is being presented by Rich's Nightclub, and they're bringing some of San Diego's hottest DJs. And you know what that means. The kind of beats that make your wig spin and your fake lashes sweat off. So make sure you put on some extra glue. And of course, there is a costume contest. This is no average sexy nurse situation, okay? Bring your A game. We're talking a runway-style competition hosted by one of Hillcrest's fiercest drag queens. And yes, there's $3,000 in prizes from local businesses up for grabs. So if you've ever wanted to be rewarded for serving spooky excellence, this is your moment. This is your time to shine. Break out those wigs, break out those makeups, hit up all the fun thrift stores we have on University Avenue if you need some last minute ideas. You'll also find Hillcrest's best small businesses serving bites, brews, and creative goodies. And because it's Hillcrest, of course, there's a giant outdoor bar. So picture this, a drink in hand, music bumping, surrounded by thousands of costumed queers dancing under the stars. What a vibe. And the best part, the atmosphere. It's the best people watching in San Diego. I live for people watching. I'm always people watching. The creativity, the joy, the weirdness, all of it. You feel this incredible sense of belonging, like the whole city turned into one big, glittery, dragged out family. Now, Nightmare on Normal Street is just the anchor, because once that party wraps up at 11 p.m., we still have much more to do. The entire neighborhood keeps the energy going. Bars like Rich's, Gossip Grill, Flicks, Number One on 5th, The Rail, Uptown Tavern, and EQ all throw their own Halloween events. You can literally spend the entire weekend in Hillcrest hopping from drag show to dance floor without ever losing the vibe. So if you're in the mix of planning your Halloween weekend currently, don't even think twice about it. Head to fabuloushillcrest.com/Halloween to map out your whole queer Halloween adventure. Look, events like Nightmare on Normal Street aren't just about music and makeup, they are about community. Fabulous Hillcrest's mission is to bring people together through art, music, food, and culture, and to keep Hillcrest thriving as San Diego's LGBTQ plus cultural district. When you show up for Halloween in Hillcrest, you're not just having fun. You're supporting local queer businesses, artists, and history. You're helping make sure that our spaces stay visible, vibrant, and proud. It's joy with a purpose, and that is why I love it. And now, my favorite part, it's giveaway time. Probably the part you've been like, are you going to get to this ever? I partnered with Fabulous Hillcrest, and we are going to give away 2 tickets to Nightmare on Normal Street, and it is very easy to enter. Here is what you have to do. If you are not following me yet on Instagram, follow at _hotairpod. That is step 1. Step number 2, if you're not following Fabulous Hillcrest, follow Fabulous Hillcrest at Fabulous Hillcrest on Instagram. Then comment Hillcrest Halloween and tag your Halloween bestie, the one that you would survive the zombie apocalypse with or a drag show hangover with. Leave that comment on any of the posts relating to the giveaway. And that's it. Easy. We'll announce the winner soon, so get your entries in. So if you've never been to Nightmare on Normal Street, this is your chance to experience the magic. And if you have, you already know that those tickets are worth their weight in glitter. Whether you're a sexy skeleton, a chaotic witch, or a drag Catwoman ghost, Hillcrest is where you belong this Halloween. Thank you to Fabulous Hillcrest for partnering with me and for keeping our queer culture alive and glowing. And I will hopefully see you guys out there on University Avenue doing the damn thing, probably wearing far too much makeup and not enough clothing. And that is it for today's variety episode of Hot Air. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Halloween and its history and why it is so important for the queer community. That little drag ghost story was so fun. Again, if you have something like that to share, please send it in on my Instagram or the website. And good luck in winning 2 tickets to Nightmare on Normal Street this Halloween here in Hillcrest. So until next time, stay spooky, stay sexy, and remember, the real horror is being a basic bitch on Halloween. So don't do that. And I will see you next Tuesday.